And we're live with Jonathan and my favourite INTJ, sorry Dario. On the subject of Dario Nardi, my second favourite INTJ, there'll be a callback to this video intro when we do the next Dario guest starring video later this year. Back on track, today Jonathan and Hailey will together try to diagnose her Enneagram type. Over to our Enneagram buff, Jonathan, who has come out of hiatus for this special hangout. So thank you very much, Jonathan.
By hiatus, you mean that 1 week? That it's not really that I came out of hiatus. It's more like I was supposed to be on hiatus, and then you took advantage of my good nature by asking me to take part in this, interrupting it. That's how I.
You're such a good Enneagram person.
I know, and that's it's the curse of being knowledgeable. You know, it's the curse of being too intelligent.
Yes, maybe. What we could absolutely. What we could do is maybe in the winter you could come back, because that will probably be the time when we do the Dario interview, and I'm sure the Dario hangout, and I'm sure you'd like to be part of that. Especially if we talk about extroverted sensing, the function that makes you go sort of fan yourself with the SE. Right then. So Jonathan, you may have seen the video. Where Jeff took Hailey through the MBTI, and Jeff said that she scored. Well, Jeff said that she scored almost a perfect INTJ score. So maybe what we could do is go through the Enneagram types that are usually associated with INTJ. See if she can actually one. What do you think?
I would guess that she's a 5. That was my immediate impression, especially if she's a perfect INTJ.
Yeah.
Usually they are type 5, type 6, but they can also be type 1, or sometimes type 8, possibly type 9, but 1, 5, and 6 are usually, and the stereotypical INTJ is a type 5.
Right, so if we start with that table, where we sort of have like the overview of the Enneagram, what do you think is best to start with as like an opening graphic for Enneagram, Jonathan? Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Okay, I'll try.
It doesn't feel good, does it?
Right, okay. We've done these before. It's all this thing about knowing where to start. Okay, I will try visual aids. Should be having
I've had such a lazy, tiring day. Sorry, just
right.
I've
So
been
what we can do?
Playing Civilization all day.
Oh, right.
Total waste of my day.
Right. So what we can do is I've not got that graphic in there. So here it is. What we can do is start off with this one. This one is the sort of like the octopus with one extra arm. Right.
I've been very impolite. Oh, nice to meet you. Okay.
Yeah. That is she, mate.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he just said. I'll translate. He just said hello.
Okay, I've been pretty good with everything. I apologize. Yeah, you have quite a strong accent. I'm trying to keep up with you, so I sincerely apologize.
Yeah.
It's all right.
We've worked out a little code system. Like, if any, Jonathan, if ever you like talk too quickly, and then Hailey misses a bit, she'll like raise her hand, and then I'll translate and say exactly the same thing, but in an English accent. Right. Right. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry for not saying much.
Hey, that's perfectly fine, because we realise what will happen is, as you go through, and maybe in the second half, you'll probably say a lot more as it sort of like gets into your core motivations, and sort of like the first half is mainly like a lesson, because it's like a steep learning curve. And then, so for instance, this is an overview of the 9 Enneagram types. And if you imagine it going round in so this one, going round clockwise, and to be right is Enneagram 1. So,
okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, yeah, I can tell there's 3 that stick out for me.
Go on then.
But I'm not sure if am I supposed to tell you or?
Oh yes, because we're trying to find out your Enneagram type.
Okay, so to be right, that's number 1, right? That's
yes. Yeah. Yep. That's called the perfectionist or the reformer.
But it's...
Okay, well, the 3 that stick out to me would be, if you could put that screen back up, please.
Okay. What you can do, Hailey, is if you click on my square, then it will stay.
Oh yes. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so number 3, number 5, and number 8.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right.
So what we could do is, if we talk a little, this might help Jonathan. Hailey, if you talk about your like your big project, like the things that you're working on, your goals, and then that will help Jonathan try to work out which one of those 3 seems like the main thing.
Okay. If I had to narrow it down to 2, it would probably be between number 3 and number 8. And you know, with what I'm doing as far as my projects, information is so important, and I go out of my way, you know, to attain every little bit of information I can that is pertinent to what I'm doing. But at the same time, basically, if it fails, if implementing the plan fails, it's, I mean, I'm not sure what would bother me more, to have it fail or to not be able to gain access to information I need.
So the audience might not know if they've not seen other videos. So it's like, because I think you do, maybe you could say the kind of information you search for, I think is in relation to your training, isn't it?
Oh yes, I apologize. Yeah, for the last few years I've been pretty obsessed with like body aesthetics and sculpting my body through weightlifting. And my approach is, I read a lot of the research of various gentlemen, one of who is considered the hypertrophy specialist, and of course these are all theories, but in my opinion, the more I learn about hypertrophy or muscular growth, the better off I'm going to be, because, you know, if I know these theories, if I'm able to implement them successfully, then, you know, that's going to put me further ahead and give me the ability to sculpt my body in the way that I want. So, I mean, if I don't have the information, like I said, I don't know what would bother me more, being unable to attain the information that I need, or having that information and then failing. I'd say they're pretty even.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is, this is not the best description. This is a really simplistic description. These actually correlate to more mainstream ideas. Like, if you think of mainstream psychology and personality disorders, there's this notion that there's something called the dimensional theory of personality, which is that there are spectrums of health or levels of health, and if you take a personality disorder, for example, they would be an extreme or unhealthy version of a normal personality type. So an unhealthy, and the Enneagram types roughly equate to these personality disorders. So an unhealthy type 3, for example, would be a narcissist, an actual textbook narcissistic personality disorder. An unhealthy type 5 would be schizoid personality disorder. Unhealthy type 6 would be paranoid, and so on. So what you're seeing in that image that Ben has is not the best description of it.
I understand.
The other thing to remember is that there's this thing called tri-type, and it's basically the idea that you have 3 of these in a particular order. So your core type would be the one that's been with you the longest, the one that you relate to the most, or that you can see yourself having even when you were really, really young. And your next to your fixes would be more of a supporting role.
Right, so Hailey, with the idea that tri-type has one of the Enneagram types from these 3 triads, so it's one from the, they call that the gut center at the top, so it's one from there, so it's one option from there, then one option from the feeling center, and then one option from like the thinking center, or the doing center as it says there. But I think if initially, if we talk about, so for instance, we could go through sort of we've got, I know Jonathan doesn't think that they're super cool, but we have these ones here, so we could have a look at the type 3. I don't know how clear that is for you both.
It's clear, it just looks so unorganized.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe Jonathan, if you have a description you can show, and then we could just like put it on screen, and like there's no sort of real need to like read it out.
Ben, you had a slide. It was like 3 slides ago. I'm not sure if there's any particular one that's better than the others, but there was one with different categories.
Was it this?
I think it might have been the second one. No, it was not that one. I think it was the one after.
Right, so probably this table?
Yes, that was it. I wanted to take a closer look if you didn't mind. Okay, so based on what this is saying, number 8, I have never been necessarily a person to seek vengeance, just because I don't usually find it worth my time.
The thing to remember is that these types are not necessarily your strengths, they're also your weaknesses, and they represent different ways of dealing with problems. So 8, 9 and 1 all have issues with anger, whether they know it or not, and they'll deal with them in different ways. 2, 3 and 4 all have issues with sadness and shame, and they'll deal with them in different ways. And 5, 6 and 7 have issues with anxiety and fear, and they'll deal with those in different ways. If a type 5 deals with anxiety by they're at odds with it, so they're not necessarily aware of their own anxiety, they're anxious about their outer world and ability to deal with people, to deal with social anxiety, more or less. That's the simplistic, but they have an anxiety about dealing with life, and they withdraw to themselves, they become very private, very introverted, and they try and master a subject or certain subjects with the long-term plan of, if I can master this, I can rejoin society and contribute again, or I can get something I'm after, like I feel secure. Type 6 is anxious all the time. Type 6 is very ambiverted. They're a very, very complex type. They're also a very common type. They're quite vigilant. They're very skeptical. They're full of doubts and uncertainties. And type 7 is anxious about their inner self, their inner doubts and fears, and so they try and escape. They look outside themselves. They're very attention-seeking. They're very histrionic. They're about having fun. They're usually ENFPs, ENTPs, ESFPs, or ESTPs. So, what of those 3 do you relate to?
What was the very last thing you said?
Well, of those 3, what do you think you would relate to the best? Just out of those 3, because you'll have
5.
Number 5, definitely. Yeah, I thought so. You seem quite 5-ish. 5s are, 5s are the investigator there. 5, 6, and 7 all have attitudes towards knowledge and learning. Type 7s learn for fun or to distract themselves. Type 6s have trouble trusting their own minds, and so they're learning for security and they're wanting to trust authorities or some kind of authority that they can use as an anchor for their doubts or uncertainties. Type 5s think it's safest to be the master, to be the expert. They don't want to trust the experts, they want to be the experts in at least certain areas. And they're more inclined to trust their own minds rather than anyone else's. So did you relate to that?
I had so just to let people know what things that happen off camera is I left my ice cream a little bit too long, and so I picked it up and then it just fell off. Oh dear. Right, so I'll share the table again. So yeah, Hailey, I sent you a little message in the side.
Yeah, my headphones are plugged in quite well. Maybe it's just an audio problem.
Right, what I can do is, like, during the Hangout, I'll slightly turn up and down your volume. So when you talk, I'll turn it up, and then when Jonathan's talking, I'll turn it down, and that will, I'll be able to adjust the echo that way, because I've got the sort of controls for the sound. So no worries.
Well, let me take my headphones out and plug them back in and see if that might do anything. But I mean, this would be a problem probably with my microphone, not my headphones. Okay, is that better in any way?
Yeah. So if you talk, Jonathan.
Well, how do you relate to what I said about Type 5?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Okay, what about Type 5?
Well, you said that of those three you relate best to Type 5. Is there any particular way you relate to it? Or is it?
Ben, if you could put that table back up.
Oh yeah. Oh,
you know,
sorry
I don't have a lot of experience with what the different types are, so this is really my first exposure to them. I haven't yet had the time to look through a lot of the stuff you've sent me, Ben, and I apologize for that. But you know, I feel like my telling you that I identify with a certain type. Take what I say with a grain of salt, because I don't know this that well, but just from looking at if this table is credible and
it's very basic, but it's credible. Right.
So what we could do is
just looking at the
we could spend like 20 minutes. If Jonathan goes for like 20 minutes going through like the most probable Enneagram types, then that will take some pressure off you. What do you think, Jonathan? Because you've done that.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you talk, Jonathan, about the 5 for about 5 minutes, and then say another type for about 5 minutes, I don't know which graphic you would like me to show. Is this one good enough, or should I show the one with the
I'll do it. This one's good enough, I think.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and you could talk maybe when it says things like holy idea and temptation and things like that. You might need to elaborate on that.
I have a question. Number 5. Oh, I apologize. I feel like I'm cutting you guys off.
No, it's fine.
It's all right.
Well, my question was about, it says ego fixation, and number 5 is stinginess. Can you explain that, please?
They are miserly. They are miserly with their time and their space. They're not very. They like their privacy too much. That's the thing. They're miserly with their emotions as well. So it's like they feel like they've only got a certain amount of time and emotions for anyone, and in general they prefer to keep to themselves. They are Type 5s are usually one of the most introverted types, so they can feel more easily drained than others because of that. So it's not necessarily introverted in the Myers-Briggs sense. It's more of a motivation. It's not a in Myers-Briggs, being an introvert is like being left-handed or right-handed. You know, it's just a natural cognitive preference. with this, it's more like an inner motivation. It's more to do with your emotions and how you deal with those. But the point here is that they are stingy with. Type 5s are very stingy with their time and their space, so they prefer to be by themselves as much as possible. And it's not that they don't want to. It's not that they'll never ever want to spend time with people, or they'll never ever have time for people. It's just that they can feel like there is only so much time they have to give, and it's less than most people are willing to. Does that make sense?
Yes, completely.
Okay.
Running through all the categories, I mean, that is exactly how I feel with my time.
Okay.
Looking at the basic fears of everything, of course I have some in the other categories,
yes.
But mainly, yeah, number 5. One of my biggest fears is being incompetent, incapable, not being able to do things for myself. And
yeah. Well, it can be for yourself, or it can be for others, or whatever. It would depend on the. There's different subtypes of each of these, so there's different types of type 5, there's different types of type 6, and so on. But
oh,
good idea.
Jonathan, what you could do is you could share the screen on Riso and Hudson's description of, like, say, the 5-wing-4 and the 5-wing-6.
All right.
Because I think they're excellent, and we could show that on screen, and Hailey could read it through to herself, and then there's a particular bit that she connects with. Then Hailey, you could comment on that.
Yeah. So
okay.
5-wing-4 and 5-wing-6 are two basic subtypes of the Enneagram. The idea is that there's all sorts of ways of categorizing the subtypes, but the two basic ones are the wings, which means for type 1 it's 1 wing 9 and 1 wing 2. The wing means you're borrowing wing from the type next to you. So 1 wing 9, which is my type, I'm a type 1, but I borrow a lot of bits from type 9. There's also a 1 wing 2, which borrows in type 2. There's a 2 wing 1, which is a 2 that borrows from a 1. 2 wing 3, and so on. So with the 5, it's 5 can borrow from 4, or 5 can borrow from 6. So those share traits with the 4 and the 6. Let me share it a second. One moment. It's going really slow. Okay, you can see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if you want to read from here.
Yeah, she could, no need to read it out, so we'll be quiet while you read through it.
Well, you should read it out so I can know when to, change the page. Or someone should read it out.
Okay, you want me to read out loud, or was that what was said?
Yeah,
either you or Ben. But I need to know when to change the page.
Alright, so if you want to have a go, Hailey, because then what you can do is then you can stop and then comment on it, and then resume your reading out.
Alright. They're able to contribute something worthwhile to
others. No, here, from here. Sorry, from here. From here, this part.
Oh,
the traits of the 5. Sorry.
Okay. The traits of the 5 and those of the 4 reinforce each other in many ways. Both 5 and 4 withdrawn types. They turn to their inner world of their imagination to defend their egos and to reinforce their sense of self. They both feel that something essential in themselves must be. Page turn, please.
There, let's change it. Found.
Found before they can live their lives completely. 5s lack the confidence to act, and 4s lack a strong, stable sense of identity. Thus, 5s of the 4 wing have difficulty connecting with others and staying grounded. People of this subtype are more emotional and introverted than 5s of the 6 wing, although paradoxically they tend to be more sociable than the other subtype. As a result of their 4 component, they are also more interested in the personal and into psychic. The 2 types also have some significant differences in their approach. 5s are cerebral, holding experience at arm's length, while 4s internalize everything to intensify their feelings. Despite these differences, or because of them, these two personality types make one of the richest subtypes, combining possibilities for outstanding artistic as well as intellectual achievement.
You can ignore.
I'm not going to read. Yeah.
You can ignore these because some of these might be right, some of these might be wrong. So start here. In healthy people.
In healthy people with this subtype, we find the union of intuition and knowledge, sensitivity and insight, aesthetic appreciation and intellectual endowments. 5s at the 4 wing are likely to be involved in the arts, writers, directors, designers, musicians, composers, choreographers, and so forth. The subtype has been somewhat overlooked in many descriptions of 5s because they do not fit the stereotype of the academic scientific 5. The 5 at the 6 wing, the subtype is more synthetic in its thinking, pulling things together and seeking out new ways of looking at things. Also, 5s of 4 wings tend to utilize their imaginations more than the analytic, systematic parts of the mind. More than many of the other subtypes. 5s of the 4 wing are drawn to those areas in which there is less emphasis on. Okay.
Okay. Experimentation up here.
Experimentation and data collection on intuition and comprehensive vision. The subtype is particularly aware of and on the lookout for the beauty in a mathematical formula, for example. For the subtype, beauty is one of the indications of truth because the order which a beauty represents is a confirmation of the objective lightness of an idea. One of the foremost strengths of healthy 5s at the 4 wing lies precisely in their intuition, since intuition helps them uncover areas of knowledge where their conscious thoughts have not yet ventured. The 4 wing adds a desire to find unique personal vision to the curiosity and perceptiveness of the 5. And the result is propensity, that's a word I don't encounter often, to tinker with familiar forms until they become something almost unrecognizable. And talented 5s with the 4 wings can lead to startling innovation from their chosen fields of endeavor. An average 5 is 4 wing. The 4 wing adds it. Oh, I'm sorry?
No, it's alright. Keep going.
In average 5s of the 4 wing adds emotional depth that causes difficulties in sustaining efforts and in working with others. 5s of the 4 wing or more. Okay.
Independent and 5s.
Yeah. So that word propensity, I have a vague idea what it means, but I looked in the dictionary. It means inclination, tendency.
You two don't know what propensity means.
Yeah, I know it vaguely, but I wanted to go to the dictionary.
Anyway.
I know. You can easily pick up what a word means, just by the context.
Yes.
What's going on in the sentence. But, in our defense, I will state that there are so many words. I'm constantly running into new words on a daily basis, and I feel like everyone has had exposure to, like, a different set of words. So I try not to harp on someone when they don't necessarily know a definition. Except when their grammar is shitty.
Yes, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's like universal. So, okay. Independent.
5s of the 4 wing are more independent than 5s of the 6 wing.
Yes. And resist having structures and deadlines imposed on them. There can be an off-putting detachment from the environment, both because they are involved in their thoughts and because they are introverted and emotionally self-absorbed. Analytic powers may be used to keep people at arm's length rather than to understand them more deeply. Emotionally delicate people of this subtype can... Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to think, maybe when you get to the end of this, I think maybe with you, your training, the ultimate goal of your training, it may be sort of like a form of self-expression.
Oh, definitely.
That could be the full wing.
I mean, my ultimate reason behind why I do this is because I want to be happy with myself. I want to look in the mirror and say, wow, look what I did. I was competent enough to be able to figure out how to do this, and I did it.
Yeah, you could say that you literally worked your butt off.
Or on.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. This might be I'm just trying to be honest right now. This might be helpful for the audience if they can't see this and read it themselves, like for me to read it out loud, but I have a better time focusing on what's being said if I'm reading it kind of in my mind rather than out loud.
Okay, no problem.
We'll do that then. Okay, we'll be quiet whilst you read it to yourself, and the audience can read as well. And then just let us know. Okay. Just let Jonathan know when you want the page turned.
Okay. Well, what I think, because it's kind of giving this type does this type does this, and so what I think might be a good idea to do if we go back to the beginning and I like go through each set of here's this type, and I will say what I identify with or what I see in myself out of the two. So that might help.
Yes. Excellent.
So you want to go back to the beginning?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, you can go to the second page. There's really nothing here. Okay, I find that I lack the confidence to act a lot of the time. So in this aspect, I would consider myself more of a 5. Does 5 of the following have difficulty connecting with others and staying grounded? Which I also find I have difficulty connecting with others. The subtype, I'm more emotional, integrated than type 5. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily, well,
it's more emotional. It's more emotional than the 5-wing-6. It's not necessarily that they're emotional. They're less emotional than other types.
Okay. And I mean more sociable. Well, I live under a rock, so I'm not social. Well,
I don't know if that's entirely true. I don't really agree with that. I think 5-wing-6 is a little more sociable, but whatever.
Wait, what? I'm sorry?
I don't entirely agree that 5-wing-4 is more sociable than 5-wing-6. That is my opinion. So,
yeah, it can vary quite a bit. I imagine with that.
Hmm.
I think this statement 5 is cerebral, holding experience at arm's length. Excuse me. That might need to be restated for me if you have a different way to state that.
Let's see. Well, they're contrasting type 5 with type 4 there. Type 4s are far more emotional and more in touch with their emotions. Type 4s are far more likely to be NFs.
Yeah, sorry, John. I think because I've read somewhere, it's like I think the idea is that the 5 can detach themselves from their emotions and look at things more objectively, whereas the 4 can be, especially if they're an NF, they can be more controlled by their emotions and subjective because they see things through the lens of their feelings, whereas the 5 is more objective and scientific, I suppose.
So they're holding this subjective experience at arm's length, while they're trying to be detached from things.
Okay. Because I wouldn't necessarily call myself a heartless creature, but
yeah, it's not like that. That's not what it means.
Right.
It means more being detached from other people's emotions and experiences in order to not be overwhelmed by them.
Right. One thing I'll say. Sorry for the slight button, but when we did the test with Dario Nardi's Keys to Cognition test, it was with Hailey. She had, as measured by the test, well-developed FI, and she was also FE break. So what came through with her was that for the people that she cared about, there was how it came across to me was a lot of loyalty and feeling, but for people that she didn't care about, then that wasn't there. And it was sort of like the classic INTJ, and I think she agreed that she was like a closet romantic. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, Hailey.
Yeah, of course, I'm not trying to be in any way an asshole, but I promise that I don't necessarily care or want to actively get involved with people that I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know a nicer way to put that. But with the few people that I'm close to, like for example, my best friend who I've known for about 15 years, I will go out of my way, you know, to help him or to do anything I need to do for him. And I mean, I find that they are two completely contrasting worlds. So.
Yeah. Well.
And yes, I would consider myself a closet romantic.
Okay.
In one of my videos, go ahead.
Yeah, that was great. Like, maybe you could talk a little bit similar thing. You did a very good video on, I think it was the one where you were dressed similarly to now, where it was the one you were talking about the things that the INTJ likes, and like it's sort of like the inner world of their feelings. That was quite good.
Well, I was thinking of another video, but I know in a lot of my videos I end up talking about the same stuff. I would definitely consider myself a closet romantic.
Yeah.
I've always kind of... I think I need to state that, like with the vast majority of males I meet, because of course I am straight, I just don't find any connection or attraction to them, and I just feel... I mean, they would basically call me indifferent or apathetic, but that when that occasion comes that I find someone that I feel particularly attracted to, which doesn't happen very often, but when that comes, it's like I will find myself like fantasizing about just spending time with them and, you know, making them happy. And I don't know, I guess if you consider that romantic or...
Oh, something in the you may have heard of this already. It's the concept of the loop, where in the INTJ they can have a loop of introverted intuition and introverted feeling, where they sort of go around in an inner world of their introverted feeling. So that might match. Maybe Jonathan, you might know something about that if you want to elaborate on that, or you might know enough already, Hailey, about that, because hey, I feel this, Ben.
I might have experienced it quite often, but as far as, you know, knowing of it consciously, I don't. So
basically, the NiFi loop is when an INTJ is not using their extrovert thinking enough, or they're not using it properly, and so they become more drawn and more in with their feelings, and usually they're more negative feelings, so they're maybe become moody and depressed and so on. There's ruminating on their emotions too much because they're not being extroverted enough and they're not using their TE enough. So it can happen it can happen either for a short space of time, or it can happen over the course of several years, depending on the person. So it's how they act under stress in a way, or is one of the ways INTJs can act under stress, or when things aren't going their way, they become more drawn, more interested, and more moody as a result of it. Whereas with INFJs, we're not using our extroverted feeling, and we're using our introverted thinking too much in an unhealthy way. So we'll become too detached from our emotions, too maybe a bit more nihilistic, maybe breaking things down too much. Sort of like a parody of logic. So basically it means you're not using your second function enough. That's what an NiFi loop is.
One thing I was thinking the other day, I was sort of like the things that define INTJ, but then I also felt to myself that, hey, these are the two most important qualities, and that would be loyalty and competence when you're judging someone, and getting that right balance between loyalty and competence. And I think, Hailey, I think that for INTJs, like loyalty, it's like next to competence is the most important thing. And if they are ever betrayed, it can like really turn them against like humankind in like general. And that's a little bit like what that character was like that you found him using, the Avon character in Blade 7, Hailey, where he was betrayed and has this negative view of humanity. So his loyalty for you, massive. Personal loyalty.
Yes. Absolutely. There's not a single person I talk to who, I mean, I don't mean it in that kind of a way, but they're all very loyal friends, and I know, well, not just friends, like family. And I will state that I do have family members that I don't talk to because they're assholes. I'm sorry. So it's not just because they're family I feel like I'm forced to talk to them. The people in my life, they're in my life because, well, again, I don't want to make this sound bad, but...
Yeah, we don't want it to sound too bad, because then you might...
They're loyal.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll just make a little joke about that. You don't want to say too much, because then you might say, oh, Ben, my family's got at me, you have to take the video down.
No. I won't care.
Yeah. INTJ. You tick so many INTJ boxes.
Okay.
Oh, and also, yes, there was that thing you said. I don't know if we said it off air or not, but it is something that INTJs do. So it's both the loyalty, but then also how competent is this person, and then with the TE coming in, how useful is this person to me as part of the plan?
Yeah, I have a bad habit of not keeping someone, or at least not keeping contact going if they're not useful to me. For example, I guess I would consider them acquaintances, but if they had a tidbit of information that I needed, I'd almost be like, well, they might see me as an a-hole for only contacting them when they need something, like I need this information or I need to know, something. But yeah, I definitely have a bad habit for only keeping those around that are useful.
Yet, when you do connect with someone, it's like 100% loyalty. So it's like that is like the inner core of the INTJ that people don't really see. And actually, I think Kersey's INTJ profile is wonderful, where it does talk about the inner romantic at the heart of the healthy INTJ, where they're very loyal people and have a good heart, and it's hard to get at that. And it's a nice contrast with certain other types, like say ESTP and ENTP, where their inner core may not be as loyal, and they could be. And here's a word I learned from Robert Holmes: perfidious, i.e., a tendency towards disloyalty. So, mention that. So if we go back to the reading.
Yes, we went just a tiny bit off topic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I thought there was
again.
I thought these were things off topic of Enneagram, but relevant to.
Well, yeah, remember these Enneagram. There are INTJs who are Enneagram 5. There's INTJs who are Enneagram 6, and so on. So this is about the different types of INTJs.
Yep.
So.
Right, I'll pipe down now. Over to you two.
Where were we?
Yeah.
Okay, you can go to the next page because they just start listing people.
Okay. Okay, so here you go.
Okay, where it starts off saying in healthy people with this subtype, etc. Are they referring to 5s with a 4 wing still?
Yes, this is all about the 5. This is all about a 5-wing-4. So there's a healthy 5-wing-4, an average 5-wing-4, and an unhealthy 5-wing-4.
Gotcha.
This is actually quite brief. It may not seem quite brief, but it's quite brief compared to the rest of the chapter. Also, the part where they're saying they're likely to be in all the arts and writers and so on is a stereotype. So there are 5-wing-4s who are scientists and academics and so on. That's not a contradiction. They're just generalizing.
Okay.
Yeah, they might be the sort of scientist that wants to like have a new discovery, distinguish themselves and their ingenuity, that kind of thing. Be known as an inventor.
Well, their 5-wing 6s are more skeptical. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Versus 5-wing 4 a bit more open-minded, mysterious, weird stuff.
Okay, you can go to the next page. There's nothing I want to comment on.
Right.
I think after we've gone through these subtypes, what we could do is, Jonathan, you could show the section in Understanding the Enneagram, which is advice for the Enneagram Type 5, because I think that fits Hailey's motivations. Practical advice.
I don't think I've got that book.
Oh, I think you have.
I don't think I've got a different book.
Well, what I will do is, as you go through this and the next one, I'll scan it.
Okay.
It's only 2 pages.
See, the bad thing about what I'm reading here is that they stopped comparing the two. They're just giving an overview of the 5 with the 4-wing. And so I feel like I don't have anything to compare it to.
I know, you will in a moment, because the 5-wing 6 is after this, so that's the best we can do, because it's the first time, just can't think of a better way.
Yeah, but this is also a good way, though, because it's such a good description. And it helps to promote the book, well, not Russo, because rest in peace, but if Hudson is watching.
Okay, can you go to the next page, please?
Okay. I like to think Riso is watching, but
yeah. Thank you for letting us. So this is on-air piracy of 3 pages. Right.
Oh. Hello?
Yes, I'm almost finished.
Okay. Sorry, everything went very quiet there. I thought it's broken off.
Okay, you can go to the next page. Huh.
When they say unhealthy, you can be unhealthy if you're in a really bad mood or a really bad place, but if you're staying at an unhealthy level for a long time, that probably means you've had a terrible life or a terrible childhood, abuse and so on. This is extreme.
Okay. Oh. Okay, you can go to the next page.
Like I said, this is an extreme example, so yeah. When it says suicide, don't worry about that.
Okay, you can go to the next page. Okay, you can go to the next page. It's just listing.
Yeah. I don't agree with all of them anyway.
Okay, next page, please. Okay, you can go to the next page. Okay, this is just based on what I'm reading. I'd say I'm 5 with the type 4, but this what I'm reading right here is describing someone I know very well.
All right. Hmm. The thing to remember. Sorry. No, you first. Go ahead.
I was going to say the 5 with the 6-wing reading, who I just said the individual it sounds like, is a guy I currently can't seem to get out of my mind. So there it is.
All right. I was going to say that you have to remember this system is technically a separate system for measuring personality types, so there's a lot of overlap between this and NTs in general. So this particular book was written in 1986, and it's really good, but it's out of date in certain places, and a lot of this is stereotypical INTJ stuff, but individual INTJs might be a bit different, or INTPs, but.
I'm not sure who the author is, but I think he
The author
needs to take a second look at his grammar. A lost sentence there. Whereas as its 4-wing tend to reject all meaning and to disturb the certainty of people who seem secure.
What's wrong with it?
It just doesn't sound right. 5s with the 4-wing tend to reject all meaning, nihilism, and to disturb the certainty of people who seem secure.
Well,
I think they need to omit the word to. Or and insert another word, for example, whereas 5 with 4 wings tend to reject all meaning and tend to also do this, or they tend to reject all meaning and disturb. Okay, it just doesn't sound right to me. I think that needs to be reworded.
Well, the extreme. Okay, have you ever watched any Batman cartoons or anything, or read Batman, or the films or anything like that? Okay, well, there's a villain. Okay, there's a Batman villain called the Scarecrow, who's probably a very unhealthy 5w4. He is a professor of psychology who has come to the conclusion that everything is run on fear, and because he's led a terrible life, he's been bullied all his life and so on, and he's become very nihilistic. And he's believed that everything is based on fear, and he's actually poisoning people with fear gas that makes them hallucinate their worst fears in order to prove his crazy theories. So that's sort of in the spirit of what they're talking about here, where it's they reject all meaning and so on, but they're also, that's not enough. They also want to unnerve other people. They want to convince other people that life has no meaning, that there is all a terrible world we live in. So that's what they're going for, trying to convince. When they become very nihilistic, and they think that at least I know that the only thing that keeps me safe is that I know that the world has no meaning and so on. But past a certain point, even that isn't enough, and they have to convince other people in order to feel secure about themselves. So they have to basically convince everyone that the world is a terrible, bleak, horrible place with no meaning. That's what they're going for here. That's why they're trying to disturb the certainty of people who seem secure. Okay. That's a really extremely unhealthy example. But want to change the page?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I'll take this off. So basically, 5w6 is more of a skeptic than a 5w4, and let's say 5w6 has become more argumentative, probably more positivists in the sense that they're more likely to believe in the scientific method and so on, and consider themselves very intellectual and consider everyone who doesn't believe in the science and so on to be an idiot, more so than most people. So Richard Dawkins on a bad day, for example, is probably an unhealthy 5w6.
Okay.
Whereas 5w4s they can be like that a bit, but they're more open to the possibility of once exploring the stranger side of life in general, and a lot more concerned with their emotions, whereas 5w6 is more detached from their emotions, or at least less interested in their emotions, more about skepticism and empiricism, and possibly a bit more anxious, or more overtly anxious, more aware of their anxiety when they get less healthy.
So I've scanned the recommendations for the 5, and now I'm doing the overview of the 5 at the start of understanding the Enneagram. Just need to do one more scan after this next one, and then we could look at that. Because what this does is this breaks it down into like the holy idea, and so it's a nice little introduction. Because I think they created this book as a sort of guidebook for the personality types. And so this has a few more updates in, so it might be less obsolete than Jonathan thinks parts of personality types are.
Well, if you want, I can show you the general stuff about the Enneagram 5.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Not the way, just...
Yeah,
okay, so... If she's wanting to read again.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
She's a 5, okay. She loves reading.
Okay, so here, overview of the 5. An overview of the 5. Starting here.
Okay. The connection between genius and madness has been long debated. He states, oh, are you wanting me to read this out loud?
It's entirely up to you. If you feel better not reading it, just let me know.
Well, the audience can see it, so I'm just going to read it in my head, so sorry, audience.
Yeah, and then... and then...
Okay, go ahead. Interesting. Lately, with some of the things I'm doing, I have been so scared to act because I feel like I am being delusional about how close to failure or how easily it will fail. And I have to remind myself that just because I think things are a certain way doesn't mean that's how it is, but I will constantly just be absolutely, at least I feel like I'm being delusional and being so negative and expecting the absolute worst, and it makes me put something off. And that kind of reminds me of what's saying here. The genius perceives patterns which are actually present, whereas the madman imposes patterns, projecting erroneous perceptions onto every circumstance. The genius may sometimes seem out of touch with reality, but only because he or she operates at a more profound level. The madman, however, is truly out of touch with reality, having nothing but delusions to substitute for it. I'm just going to keep going.
Alright, so what they're talking about here is really any types, Enneagram types can be very intelligent. They can be, any of them can be a genius or a madman, but they're talking about specifically the relation. Type 5s are really about being smart. They want to be smart. They want to be intelligent. They want to have some kind of mastery over something, and they want to be. And they're not willing to just take for granted that other people are the experts. They want to be an expert themselves, and depending on how healthy they are, that can go very well, or it can go absolutely terrible, and they can come up with really crazy ideas that mean nothing.
Jonathan, could you just talk a little bit about how INTP is, with an emphasis on INTJ, is what the INTJ Enneagram 5 is like? Is their competence usually directed towards something more practical, with an outcome, a practical outcome?
Well, yeah, but that's probably probably yes, but that's sort of INTJs in general.
Right.
I mean, Friedrich Nietzsche probably is a type 5 INTJ, and I wouldn't say he was necessarily practical. He was practical in a sense, but he's a philosopher, so it's not. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Plus, he went insane, and he was very alienated.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Go to this. Right. Can I change the page?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say I'm a type 5.
Right.
Yeah, especially when you score so clearly as INTJ. That makes sense. I mean, like, her preferences were, like, I think, strongly I, strongly N, strongly T, and very strongly J. And I think Jeff joked that she was, like, almost the total opposite of him.
Okay, you can turn the page. You can turn the page.
Right.
Yeah, this is accurate. Yes, the more anxious they feel, the more they minimize their needs. Yeah.
So, just a slight introduction whilst you read that, Hailey. One of the benefits of Enneagram is that now you know you're 5, it has all of this advice and a way to sort of judge your mental health. And also the mental health thing is a sort of a dynamic thing, depending on certain situations. And it's great for giving advice for, like, how to sort of, like, monitor yourself. And so with your strong T, it's like you have something to measure yourself against. So it's quite good from that point of view.
Okay, go to the next page.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the next page, please. Okay.
Okay. This bit here where it says Jung's introverted thinking type, you should probably know that, because what they've done here is they're trying to take the Enneagram's it's been around for a few decades. These authors in particular are trying to make it more in line with more accepted and mainstream ideas. So one of the things they try to do, and one of the things a lot of people try to do, is equate each type with a particular Jungian function. So when it says introverted thinking, that makes you think of INTPs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily true.
Also, though, in Model G, the INTJ is NiTi, so there's two functions working together. And so the INTJ is very good at TI, but they use it sort of like in service of the TE and the NI. So, for instance, the way Dario defines TI in his book, Eight Keys to Self-Leadership, it's almost like it's like using a theory for a practical reason. So his biases come out in his functions. So for instance, that's what INTJ will use. And I see you said that before, Hailey, like the things you research, you use these theories in order to apply them.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Basic point is they say it's introverted thinking and they're not really right. There's a degree of overlap, but they're not really the same thing. So, there. They're not talking about it in the MBTI sense. That's the most important thing.
And so this is good. The Enneagram 5 is a way of explaining why you can have NFs who are very intellectual and almost seem like NTs.
Excuse me, I am not a 5, but I'm intellectual, I would think.
I think you got 5 in your tri-type though.
Yes, but that's nonetheless.
But someone like Maria, who was his master's degree in chemistry.
Yeah, but
and someone like her.
No, there's intellectuals of all the types. I don't.
Yeah, I sort of mean what I sort of mean is those NFs who have interests which are NT-like.
Even then, sure.
Okay, I'll fold. I'll defer to your greater knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done it. At last, I think I've done it. Yeah, I can only do one thing at a time. I'm scanning the wrong page and everything.
You can go to the next page if you can.
So hopefully, Hailey, you're already at the phase of, I'm glad I did this hangout now. Whereas in the first 5 minutes, you may have been a little skeptical. I don't know.
Okay, you can go to the next page.
This time with parental orientation is more speculation, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
very speculative. Oversimplistic as well. Because most people don't have an upbringing which is like so clear cut and almost like those classic Freudian case studies.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's nothing inherent, but it's a bit simpler. I would say that actually your Enneatype is a mixture of nature and nurture. So you're born with a certain inclinations towards certain types, and then your upbringing will determine things like that. So it's not entirely even due to your upbringing in the first place.
As a result, fives withdrew from the active participation in the family to search for something that they could bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can go to the next page. The reasons for this may relate to the 5's feelings of not having a place in the family. They may have felt crowded out or figuratively or literally intruded on by their parents and their agendas. Their parents may have nurtured them erratically, or may have been emotionally disturbed, or alcoholic, or caught in a loveless marriage, and therefore not dependable. You go to the next page.
Okay, not dependable sources of love and reassurance. I think at that part they're both speculating, and they're probably more thinking of average or unhealthy 5's.
Okay. Okay, you can go to the next page, please. Next page, please. Okay.
Okay, and we'll leave off here because this next part will take forever.
Yeah, they go into super depth, Hailey. It's like 20 pages going through the various levels. And hopefully this will have opened up. Let's see if this is this. Oh, that's going to be good enough. Right, I'm going to... What I can do here is now we can go into something practical. INTJ want the practicality. So this is going to be recommendations for the type 5. And then... and they've got it in the list, so we can. So it'd be great if you could comment on each.
Okay.
Each one. So okay, that's.
What goes this then? You done?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be okay. Right. So what I'll do is I'm gonna just click on this, and then I'll share. And I'm just gonna click on it for the moment. So the I clicked on the wrong one. So yeah, the audience can like pause that. They want to read that themselves, and then I'll leave that to so for Hailey to read and comment on.
Whoever wrote this.
I feel quite proud when Hailey read my stuff and she didn't say, "Hey Ben, this grammar's terrible." I'm feeling quite good. She did a whole video, folks, complaining about if you contact me, have decent grammar.
Well, that was more of people contacting me to do business.
Right.
I can understand a quick personal email, a family or friend or something, but if you're, for the first time ever, contacting me to do business.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yes, it speaks ill of their professionalism, or rather lack thereof.
Thank you. Okay, are you wanting me to comment on this?
Oh yes, yes please. Yep.
Okay. Speculate.
Even if it's to a certain extent of, I already do this, and then give examples, maybe.
Is number one, stay connected with your physicality, because I am in my head just about 99% of the day, but I don't have a problem with it. I mean, yeah, I might, trip over something.
But
as long as I don't take a huge bill or something, it doesn't necessarily bother me. But I guess that is kind of something I should work on.
But Hailey, I mean, you are super in touch with that when you're doing your training, though. Physicality.
Yeah, we talked about this. That is, like, yes, I can be in the physical moment, but a lot of it is in my head because I do the same exact routine every single time I go to the gym. So, I mean, it's kind of programmed in my mind, like the correct form, and I don't even have to think about it. So if my mind goes off somewhere else and I'm using, like, a certain, like something that happened that pissed me off or, something for motivation, my mind can go there and I can execute the lift with perfect form and not even have to think about being physically there. Like, yeah, to maneuver around the gym and not, run into anyone else lifting, I have to be present. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely times that I have to be in the moment. Without drugs or alcohol. Okay, I have often seen, and I don't know, I guess a lot of INTJs fall into this drugs and alcohol bit. I have never, ever had any yearn for drugs or alcohol. I actually consider them a huge waste of time and money. But if we sub out, like, having an addiction for something, I guess you could say, like, I have an addiction. Like, my addiction would probably be, like, body aesthetics, shaping my body. I mean, I guess it kind of has turned into a form of addiction, and I probably am on the edge of acute narcissism, which I will admit to. So that probably has been my drug.
Yeah, but I don't think you have that in your personality, though. You may have it, like, in the form of, like, say, trying to sculpt your body in the way, but I don't think you have it in any kind of, like, arrogance.
I think, and I'm not sure, I've never actually looked up the definition of a narcissist, but if I can just give my thoughts on this, I think people normally attribute the word narcissist with something like negative, and I think just in and of itself, the word narcissist just means having an obsession with an image of yourself, whether it be physical or something about yourself. It's not necessarily, like, it can turn into something negative, but the obsession isn't necessarily something that's like a negative thing. So,
you're probably.
If you see, like, me being obsessed with getting my physique to look one way, it might not look negative to you, which is why you don't want to associate it with the word narcissist, because you automatically attribute that word to something negative. But I will say that I'm pretty obsessed with it.
Well, I think maybe one of the reasons I don't say that is because, I'm trying to improve my own body. So I wouldn't want to. But I think you're also...
Definitely a line, and I have crossed it.
Pardon?
Well, I mean, yes, everyone, of course, I would imagine, wants to improve their body in some way, shape, or form. But I think I might have gone a little bit overboard, which I don't have a problem with. It's just how I am.
But I do think, I mean, you've talked about creating a website and monetizing this, so it's like for a practical purpose.
True, but I don't do this just for money. So, in fact, I really don't do it for money at all. I mean, I realize you need money to buy food, so you can feed yourselves nutrients and goodies. But if I just had a money tree growing in my backyard, I really wouldn't. The monetary aspect. I think it's kind of funny. The next line that I have yet, like I hadn't read, was exercising techniques or using biofeedback. Exercising techniques will help you channel some of this nervous energy. Okay, let's move on. Number 3.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just. Oh yeah. Sorry. That's okay.
See many possibilities, but often do not know how to choose among them or judge, which is more or less important.
This is probably more for INTP.
Okay. If you can go to the next page, please.
Okay. Right. Is that big enough?
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. I'll put you in a little bit.
So, should I skip number 3?
Well, I mean, it depends. So if you don't think it's relevant, then skip ahead. It depends how relevant you think it is. We did talk a little bit about the control NE in the INTJ, where I think you said you considered these possibilities, but you ignore them because they contradict the master plan or things which are productive.
Well, I've noticed this comes in also a lot when I'm thinking about this particular guy that I like, and I'll have all these possibilities come into my head, but like the main central idea of what I'm trying to attain, it never, like my focus never diverges from that one central thing. I'll have all these possibilities, and I'll think, well, maybe this, and here's how this could, work, or how this could connect to this, or maybe this could cause this to happen. But at the end of the day, it doesn't distract me. So. Okay, so number 4 is basically just saying you get so caught up with your goals that you forget to eat, you forget to brush your teeth, you just forget about everything else. You're so immersed in what you're doing, but do not necessarily support your self-esteem, confidence, or life situation. It is possible to follow many different fascinating subjects, games, and pastimes, but they can become a huge distraction from what you know you really need to do. I'm going to skip number 4. 5s tend to find it difficult to trust people, to open up to them emotionally, or to make themselves accessible in various ways. Their awareness of potential problems in relationships may tend to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is important to remember that having conflicts with others is not unusual, and that the healthy thing is to work them out rather than reject attachments with people by withdrawing into isolation. Okay, it is very hard for me to trust people, but I haven't met anyone recently. I mean, it's not like I just come into contact with people and I, have to go about figuring out if I can trust them or not just because I'm so busy. Like, I don't, the people who are in my life have been in my life for so long, and I haven't made a new friend, and the newest friend I've made is the gentleman I can't get out of my head, and that was about 5 months ago, and I've already, I can trust him, and well, at least I feel I can. So the first part is definitely true for me, but if there was ever a situation that a problem came up, it wouldn't be an issue at all for me to approach that person and to discuss it. So, yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, I wasn't like budging you up or anything. Like I was just like preparing.
Wait, I'm sorry?
I wasn't like moving you ahead. I wasn't like suggesting how you get on with it. That wasn't that at all.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was kind of done with it anyway. Yeah, I'm a loner, but I don't have a problem with it.
It's like I am too, but I do these hangouts. You get a weird, the way you can connect with people who are similar.
Yeah.
Talking about interacting with people really is rather quite ironic. All these introverts talking about how to deal with people.
Can you go to the next page and continue for number 7?
Yep.
Is it too much to ask you to back up?
No. Do you want to go back to?
Yes, please.
What I could do
Number
is
7.
zoom out. So
Yes, great. It says, remember that your brilliance, and I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but just reading this here. Remember that your brilliance may be intimidating to many. Indeed, it is probably something you're proud of and use to distance yourself from people. Well, I don't necessarily use it to distance myself from people. I just get so caught up with it that I don't notice that I'm doing it.
One of the things INTJs might do, and you've mentioned this as well, Hailey, is that they tend to focus so much on a subject that they really master it, and then they'll come across a lot of people who do not know that particular subject anywhere near as well as they do. So that might be part of it. Whereas INTP might know more subjects to a lesser degree, and so they're more likely to come across. They're more likely to come across people who know about the same or a little bit more. So that's sort of like the example of me, where I don't like concentrate totally on Enneagram. So then I can like talk to people like Malia and Jonathan who know more than me. So maybe that's fascinating.
And like this is stating, because you don't necessarily immerse yourself completely in one subject, maybe that, like you don't come across as intimidating to others because, well, like in the way that I might come across as intimidating to someone who doesn't know that much about glute training. Not saying I know everything because I don't, but I think that maybe makes someone more relatable, because when people are talking about subjects that I have no idea about, I almost sometimes feel like I have nothing to contribute to the conversation, and that in itself, like, they can't relate to me. Whereas you are probably, like, you're more versed in a variety of subject matter, and I'm kind of lacking.
Oh, thank you. But I was in the past. I think INTPs, as INTPs get older, they become more aware of. Firstly, they become aware of that there's people out there who know a lot of stuff that they don't know, because they become aware of subjects that they don't know about. Whereas when people are younger, it's like they don't know what they don't know. Whereas when you get older, you start to know what you don't know, the areas of ignorance. And part of it is just experience. And to be honest, in my case, I was once at a gym, and I was like told straight by an instructor, and I had a talk for about 30 minutes about how why I would have a tendency to interrupt people, because they would say something, it would spark something in my mind, and because I didn't want to forget it, I said it straight away. And that conversation has like stayed with me so much, and it might be because I identify with the type 4 that really like cuts me. So I like really try not to do that, to interrupt people. And part of the model of the INTP and socionics is like introverted feeling. The INTP, as they get older, really tries hard to improve in that area. And I once, and you might like this, Hailey, is I recorded a video with Wojtek, who's also best fit type is INTP, and we did it called "How Should INTPs Interact on Facebook?" And we had when we did the video, I just thought male INTPs, and then a few, 2 or 3 female INTPs said, "Hey, good video." I didn't even think about female INTPs, so I'm glad people liked that video. And basically, what happened in the video was our advice was INTPs, they can come into contact with someone. I'll go back to this in a moment. INTPs can come into contact with someone who has a similar interest with them, and suddenly the INTP can get over enthusiastic and say, "Have a look at this, have a look at this, have a look at this," and it's like they can like overload them. So that's like another lesson. I mean, I've sent you some good stuff, and I'm glad you like it, but I will hold back. But I'm glad you like it so far.
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest. I have felt a little overwhelmed with the both amount and variety of information you've sent my way, but I've been so busy in the last few days I haven't had a chance to look at any of it. Not that I don't find it interesting, it's just I tend to want to look at one thing at a time, and so you're like, oh, this, and this, and this, and I'm like, slow down.
But that which you have read, is it promising?
Wait, I'm sorry?
The bits that you have seen so far, do you like what you've seen so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so because what happened, folks, if people want to see my interaction with Hailey in Open, we had this sort of long conversation via comments on the Dario Nardi video, because she was very interested in that video. So you can sort of see my frenetic responses of this, and this. And it's like, so if people want to know how I interact with people, they're like, blimey, you're a weird combination of FE and NE there, Ben. You're coming across as a bit over-enthusiastic. Right.
Which video? Which video?
That was the Dario Nardi interview. It's 90 minutes long. If you look at the comments, you'll see various threads with Hailey, how I've interacted. And some people might think, hey, you're trying a little bit too hard here, Ben. But I thought she responded well. Because she was very much interested in the subject of like trying to look at the EEG patterns. But anyway, we're going off topic. So I just thought I'd say that to sort of like balance up the positive things that you said about me. Because I thought, I want to balance it up. So yeah, but thank you for your kind words.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to number 8 now.
Yep.
Oh man. Ha. Yes. I hate to admit this, but I do this. Yes, this is absolutely something I need to work on.
Yeah, in fact, I think you said in one video that if there's a guy that you like the look of, but you almost fear that he might be a dumbass, and it's like, I don't want to talk to him.
I know, it's not even fear at this point. I've just accepted the fact that he's probably going to be one. And so for that reason, I just don't approach him.
Hopefully Jonathan and I have passed that test. We've passed a minimum threshold of intelligence.
If I might state, okay, I feel quite confident about stating this because I've lived here just about my entire life, but this area of the world is something else. So meeting any males here That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on. It's kind of ambiguous. Others begin to avoid you or react to you antagonistically. Consider the possibility that you, rather than they, have begun the antagonisms. I just don't have time to poke and prod at people. I mean, I'll get sarcastic with them if they're being an a-hole, but I don't stir the pot just to stir the pot. I'm going to move on. You have an enormous capacity for understanding. Okay, an example I guess I could use for this. Yes, this is something I need to work on. With those I'm close to, it's really easy for me to be able to put myself in their shoes, but people I don't necessarily, I'm not close to, an acquaintance of mine, he was having some girl trouble, and why he came to me, I don't know, but I was trying to offer him assistance. I guess he wasn't looking for someone to try to help. He was just looking for someone to say, you know, I'm sorry, it'll be okay. And I don't really do that kind of thing, but it was really hard for me to try to put myself in his shoes. And I thought about it after I had the conversation with him. I was like, man, I probably sounded like really, really indifferent, and I didn't mean to, because in that moment I felt like he's asking for help. You know, let me help him, rather than, oh, it'll be okay, just feel better, or whatever. I was genuinely offering him suggestions and things he could do to take action to fix his problem. But because he wasn't getting the, feel better, I'm sorry, he just stopped talking to me within that conversation.
Sometimes, yeah, sorry to interrupt. Sometimes some men, to pick up women, will talk about an imaginary girlfriend of theirs in order to get their input on something. So, you've probably encountered that already.
Well, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that was what was going on with this certain male. Just because we've had our past run-ins, and he knows that I'm not interested in him, and unless he was just bored and thinking maybe I had changed my mind and magically had become interested, I don't know. I'm going to continue reading this.
Okay.
I don't think I would ever want to become more trusting, to use something like this to automatically become more trusting, but everything else, yeah, trying to be more empathetic, rather.
And what you could do in an INTJ way, you could come up with criteria for assessing how trustworthy someone is. So, like with Dario's book, I'll come up with these scales and tick some boxes off, see if I can trust them. And also, some INTJs might get sneaky. Oh, I'll give them a little test. I'll give them some bogus information, see what happens with it. There was once a character in Game of Thrones called Tyrion Lannister. What he did is he told 4 different secrets to 4 different people, and then because he saw which of the secrets was passed on, he knew who leaked the information, but because he gave each one different pieces of information. So INTJs may do little things like that to test people. I don't know. Sort of like the extreme ones. The sneaky ones.
Well, I will do little things like that. This guy I'm talking about, actually, he has a website, and I had been emailing him. He asked for my advice or my feedback on the website, and just last night I reread his introduction well, he had reworded it and gone through and changed a lot of it. And I think he is obsessive with his grammar like I am. And the very last sentence was where the only grammatical error was. And he knows that I make it a point to point out grammar errors. And because of the fact that I'm the one who suggested he change his introduction, I'm kind of wondering if he made that mistake just to know if I would go back and read it, like to see if I really like mean what I say as far as, you know, caring about him. So I'm wondering if he was a sneaky snake and did that just to see if I would correct his grammar, or you know, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, he could have just been, you know, typing away and it just happened to be like that. So I'm not sure. I'm reading into it, but I will do stuff like that. I will be a sneaky snake just to see if people notice and what they do.
Ah, yes, to see if a guy might be patronizing you or something.
Yeah.
It's good to get a good insight into the INTJ's mind.
I see so many parallels with myself and this guy, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who I feel approaches things and like strategizes in the way that I do, and it's so foreign to me. Like it's almost as if I'm looking at the male version of myself, and it just, when I met this guy, it totally just blew me away. It really did. So it's kind of scaring me too. I really don't know what I think about it. I'm still putting it together. Okay, so I'm getting off subject. Let's move on. So if there's an 11, a number 11, let's do it.
Oh, sorry, there's no number 11, but there is.
Oh!
What we have here is... oh yes, we have some more information on the avarice passion. I think there's 3 slides there. Yes, so because it sort of like breaks it down.
Okay, you can go to the next one.
Okay, let's think it's... Yes. Should I zoom? I can zoom in a little bit and still retain all the text. There we go. Yeah, so Jonathan, if there's anything in here that you feel is out of date, please let us know.
Sorry, I'm just getting a bit tired at this,
That's okay.
this point.
Yeah, we can go on a little bit after you leave, because I'd like to have like a little overview of the core dynamics.
I'm on a fixation. It says, the problem is that identifying with the mind this way detaches us from the support of our being and from feeling connected with the world. Further, when fives become trapped in constantly thinking that they need more and more information or skill before they can really live, it becomes increasingly difficult to get their lives started. That's kind of what I feel like sometimes, like when I'm scared to like for example, this website that I'm going to launch, I feel I'm almost becoming delusional about all the ways that it's going to fail, and I feel like I need to, like I'm constantly looking at new things and wanting to know, like seeking out new information, and that I don't know enough, and that...
Well, there's a couple of contacts I have who work in that area that might be able to help.
Well,
so,
yeah, I mean, I love the advice, but it's not necessarily a formatting issue.
Right, okay. So it's about content, gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you read these 2 paragraphs here, Hailey?
Yeah, I just finished. That's what I was just discussing.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned that is because they might be, part of the text might be obscured by the squares at the bottom. So now I've moved it up, the audience will be able to see. Because sometimes the squares obscure it and sometimes they don't. So like our squares at the bottom. Yeah. So this might be a good one for you to connect to. The idea of holy idea.
Okay, I'm going to reread that over, but before I do,
Okay.
just because you mentioned the audience and I thought about this, and no offense to you audience, but are people really so intrigued with this subject matter that they would sit and look at our pretty faces for 2 hours?
Well, I mean, the Enneagram 5s are. I mean, basically what it is. I mean, Jonathan, we've done some good Enneagram 1 videos. Not many people watch. The 4s and the 5s, they love this stuff.
Okay, interesting.
No one loves the Enneagram 1.
I do.
Oh, thank you.
I think my second fix in Tri-type is a 1. Yeah, because also Enneagram is one of those things that people get a bit culty about because they really get into it. Culty in a good way.
Well, not always in a good way. So just don't understand.
Okay.
Do you think this is good stuff so far? That it's like a good system for you, Hailey, the Enneagram?
You know, along the lines of the cult-ish thing you were just discussing,
Yep.
Last night, I don't know if you remember, I told you that there was an INFJ who was dead set on the fact that he thought I was an INFJ. And I brought it to his attention last night that we had the video chat test with Jeff.
Yeah.
And I told him the results, and it was almost as if I don't know. I don't want to read too much into this, but of course it was over text, and a lot of things can be misconstrued over text. But I almost felt as if I was banned from his magical INFJ club.
It's crazy. I mean, that's one of the benefits of socionics, is that I know that Jeff doesn't necessarily like it because sometimes a lot of socionics people are like socionics bigots, and it's like socionics is everything and everything else is rubbish, but it gives you like these little extra details, like with the weakest function of the INTJ being FE, but their saving grace being the FI. So it's like strangers that they don't really care for. And with INTP, it's extroverted sensing, where the INTPs, we don't like having pressure put on us, and we don't like aggression.
You can go to the next page.
I remember that I had a lot of trouble scanning the next page, but it was like so small. But there you go.
Well, I guess it's fitting that our 2-hour time period is now finished, and we finished right on time.
Right, well there we go.
At least with the reading.
Yep. So maybe in future, I don't know if I can persuade Jonathan to come back tomorrow and do tri-type.
We shall see.
Ooh, promising. So it depends if Hailey is available tomorrow. I don't know if she's training. Anyway, I shouldn't be doing this anyway, pressuring you on air to come back for further hangouts. That's naughty of me. I shouldn't do that. Right, so yes, hopefully people like this video, and thank you a lot.
It's a very quiet video. It's much more quiet than we're used to doing.
Yeah, but
in a good way.
The Enneagram 5's light reader. So we can have a little. Maybe Hailey can speak for a minute or less on. Which is like, so has this experience been useful to you?
Well, I mean, it has been very interesting reading and learning about all the different types as far as earlier on in the video. I am almost positive that I am type 5, just based on everything I've read. I'm not sure if you guys have any opinion on that. If you think I'm type 5 or not, and
I think you're type 5, but I do think you're type 5, but there's other aspects that you need to go into after it, because this is obviously just the introduction stage stuff.
I think I don't know nearly as much as Jonathan, but your tri-type may be 5-3 something. What do you think? Because you seem to have a good desire to succeed.
Yeah.
And the 3 is called the achiever. And that type.
Be correct.
And that type can have a little problem with narcissism at times.
And then that's probably spot on.
But you see, the proper narcissists don't really know that they're narcissists, whereas I would say that healthy people know that they can be, okay, I'm really confident in this one area, but like other areas I need to work on. So I don't really see those as narcissists, if they have sort of like a balanced objective
like the
view.
person who says they're crazy. That means they're not. If they recognize that they're crazy, they are most definitely not crazy. So if I recognize the fact that I'm on the verge of becoming a full-on narcissist, then I probably am not. But I think, like I said earlier, most people associate the term narcissist with something negative, and I'm not saying it's something negative or you looking at my Instagram profile, it might, like, from what you know of me, you won't look at it in a negative way, so you won't necessarily think, oh, narcissist, because whenever you see or hear the word narcissist, you automatically think negative, something negative.
Part of it, though, is that I'm trying to, I only started in October last year, but I'm trying to train my own body. So it's like, and Jonathan himself has says that he wants to do it as well. He has a desire to do it.
I have a desire to do it. I have not got the will quite yet, but that is another story. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting quite tired.
Okay,
now,
so yes, I'll just say we can all say goodbye each. So it's goodbye from me.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Alright, and we will stop.